So to start off this session together, I'm going to read two paragraphs attributed to Ramana Maharshi, and they deal with the idea of surrender and destiny on the spiritual path. Someone had mentioned to Ramana Maharshi that according to a Vaishnavite teaching, one must do service to God. And in this text, it says that Bhagavan, whom we refer to as Ramana Maharshi, replied rather sarcastically, "So God can't get on without their service? On the contrary, God asks, 'Who are you to do service to me?' He is always saying, 'I am within you. Who are you?' One must try to realize that and not speak of service. Submission or surrender is the basic teaching of Vaishnavism. But it does not consist of paying a guru a fee for initiation and telling him that you have surrendered. As often one tries to surrender, the ego raises its head and one has to try to suppress it. Surrender is not an easy thing. Killing the ego is not an easy thing. It is only when God himself, by his grace, draws the mind inwards that complete surrender can be achieved. But such grace comes only to those who have already in this or previous lives gone through all the struggles and sadhanas preparatory to the extinction of the mind and killing of the ego." This is a wonderful, wonderful paragraph here. And many times people have wondered why I put together the idea of Kriya Yoga and Vichara in the book Kriya Yoga Vichara. I discussed it with my teacher, Roy Davis, who is a student of Yogananda, as you know, and he didn't see any difficulty with it at all. He was also very much interested in Ramana Maharshi, and he even pointed out, which made a good deal of sense, in the Yoga Sutras, in the very beginning, there's a discussion where it talks about yoga is abiding as the self, or abidance in the self. Otherwise, there's conformity to definitions. That's from chapter 1 of the Yoga Sutras, which, through Ramana Maharshi's approach, self-inquiry, there's an emphasis on abiding as the self, obviously. And the last sentence here in the paragraph, which we talks about grace, and in one of my favorite spiritual books, one of my favorite quotes from it is that self-effort is synonymous with grace. Self-effort is synonymous with grace. And this last sentence again, "But such grace comes only to those who have already in this or previous lives gone through all the struggles and sadhanas preparatory to the extinction of the mind and killing of the ego." So he's admitting there that either in this or previous lifetimes, work has been done, preparatory work has been done to experience that kind of release of attachment from the ego. So when we think about the idea of Kriya Yoga Vichara, it makes sense. You do your Kriya Yoga, your preparatory actions, which result in the ability to transcend or let go of the small sense of self. And then another paragraph, which comes right after that, a few pages later, someone asked Ramana Maharshi about destiny. Is there destiny? And if what is destined to happen will happen, is there any use in prayer or effort, or should we just remain idle? And Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says, "There are only two ways to conquer destiny or be independent of it. One is to inquire for whom is this destiny and discover that only the ego is bound by destiny and not the self, and that the ego is non-existent. The other way is to kill the ego by completely surrendering to the Lord. By realizing one's helplessness and saying all the time, 'Not I, but thou, O Lord,' and giving up all sense of I and mine, and leaving it to the Lord to do what he likes with you. Surrender can never be regarded as complete so long as the devotee wants this or that from the Lord. True surrender is love of God for the sake of love and nothing else, not even the sake of salvation. In other words, complete effacement of the ego is necessary to conquer destiny, whether you achieve this effacement through self-inquiry or through bhakti marga. And again, we can refer back to that previous sentence that such grace comes only to those who have already in this or previous lives gone through all the struggles and sadhanas preparatory to the extinction of the mind and killing of the ego. And for our purposes, since we are studying Kriya Yoga, which is an activity and action, a preparatory practice, that's what you do. And that sets up the foundation for you to experience the kind of freedom or release from identification with a small sense of self that Ramana Maharshi is discussing. In the book I'm reading from is Day by Day. I don't know if this is available. One of my friends whom traveled quite a lot to India, he got this for me at the Ramana Maharshi's ashram. So I'm not sure if it's specific to some publication I did over there or if it's available on Amazon. So consider this. Just consider it. Spend some time contemplating it. Don't worry about it. Don't stress out about it. Just take some time to go sit in the corner like I did. Just get out your little reclining chair in the sunshine on a day that you have some idle time and re-listen to what we've just discussed and think about it. Contemplate it. Wonder about it. Let it do what it will with you. And then see how that might influence your life or how you approach this path.